Hello, I'm Kason Smith, reviewing the requirements for an effective vision. Many people have visions for the future. However, most lack authority to rally others to work toward this vision. For instance, I envision a United States filled with better educated people, a booming economy, and a truly representative as well as responsive democracy. Okay, stop laughing. It's a good vision. I'm just not in a position to make it happen, or at least not right now. Which brings us to the first requirement for an effective vision. It must be developed by a leader, someone with strength and influence who can mobilize an organization to strive toward that vision. A couple of things to note here. To start with, you can still have an effective vision for a small organization. If you're the quarterback of your touch football team, you can have a great vision about how to win the game, and you have the authority to make it happen because you're calling the plays. The backup center on your team may also have a vision, but lacks the authority to make the calls. Also, notice the leader develops the vision. This implies it isn't necessarily an original construct of the leader. He may have gotten the vision from other people. When Steve Wozniak was working on his first personal computer, the one he just wanted to make for himself to do the sort of stuff that he wanted to do, his friend, Steve Jobs, would have preferred that Woz worked on other devices which Steve knew people wanted. However, when he saw what that personal computer could do, and more importantly, how people reacted to it, he had a vision. Making and selling personal computers. He would not have had that vision if he didn't pay attention to the people around him. A vision may be developed by a leader, but it's most likely a composite of many other ideas from many other sources. The second requirement is communicating the vision and having people support it. A leader may have the authority to dictate work to followers, but that doesn't mean they'll like the work. People need to support a leader's vision, or it's just the boss ordering them around to achieve something they personally can't share in. Our burgeoning Apple Corporation, right now working out of a garage, did not have a particularly lofty vision at the time, but it was one a small band of workers could get behind, having fun with their friends and messing around with computers. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a much bigger vision, though he called it a dream. He wanted his children to be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. If your race had been oppressed for hundreds of years, it would be very easy to get behind this vision. Also, if you are truly of the American character, which rejects authority based on hereditary privilege, say like a monarchy, it's still extremely easy to support this vision, regardless of your race. In fact, Dr. King's vision was so broad-based, multitudes continue to support it today. Now that's a vision people can support. The vision must be comprehensive and detailed. Everyone must know their part in the effort. During World War II, the overriding vision for the Allied powers was to bring about peace by destroying the military power of Axis countries. A vision supported by millions of Americans who were willing to do their part, buying war bonds, rationing food, donating scrap metal, you name it, Americans did it. Every step of the way, American citizens knew each of these sacrifices was helping to win the war. When Steve Jobs realized there was a growing market for personal computers, he had an idea of what that computer should be. When Woz miraculously made that computer a reality, Jobs could see selling 1,000 of them a month. He also realized he needed venture capital, manufacturing, marketing, and many other things. This meant having a bigger, more detailed vision to energize and focus Apple employees. A vision where each department understood their role in the bigger mission. Jobs was pretty talented in this area. He could take his larger vision and break it down into simple concepts which elucidated what a person's role in that vision was. Take this engineering example.
Steve was upset that the Mac took too long to boot up when you first turned it on. So he tried motivating Larry Kenyon by telling him, well, you know how many millions of people are going to buy this machine? There's going to be millions of people. And let's imagine that you can make it boot 5 seconds faster. Well, that's 5 seconds times a million every day. That's 50 lifetimes. If you can shave 5 seconds off that, you're saving 50 lives. And so, it was a nice way of thinking about it. And we did get it to go faster.
How about convincing the CEO of Pepsi to leave his large, successful corporation to join tiny but growing, unproven Apple computers?
And then he looked up at me and just stared at me with this stare that only Steve Jobs has. And he said, do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or do you want to come with me and change the world? And I just gulped, because I knew I would wonder for the rest of my life, what I would have missed.
Of course, getting fired from Apple by this same CEO wasn't a part of Steve Jobs' vision, but whoever said visions were perfect. The point is, Steve Jobs' vision was now not just about selling computers. Which brings us to our final requirement for an effective vision. It must be uplifting and inspiring. Is the end result worth the effort? Is the payoff worth striving for? Will the work make the followers feel better about themselves? This year, Apple became the most profitable company in history, ever. Even more profitable than energy giants like ExxonMobil. But was the money worth it to those who worked at Apple all those years? Maybe, if they owned considerable stock in the company. But what about those workers less interested in money? Was Steve Jobs' vision inspirational simply because it was about acquiring wealth? I'll let him explain.
It's very interesting. I was worth about over $1 million when I was 23, and over $10 million when I was 24, and over $100 million when I was 25. And it wasn't that important because I never did it for the money. Especially at that point in my life, it was not the most important thing. The most important thing was the company, the people, the products we were making, what we were going to enable people to do with these products. So I didn't think about it a great deal. I never sold any stock, and just really believed that the company would do very well over the long term.
Steve Jobs was a person who had the ability to shape the direction of a group of people, sometimes a small group, sometimes a large group. He developed and communicated a vision which many understood and supported. His followers knew their roles in seeking that vision, and when it was all said and done, they felt proud of the work they did, even if they weren't rich. Steve Jobs, love him or hate him, wanted to change the world. How much do you think his vision had to do with achieving just that?